Hello everyone, and welcome to this video. As many of you will know, I'm Ben. I'm the bassist for Albany Down, and lots of people often ask me about this machine here, which you should see on a separate bit of the screen, particularly at gigs, if you remember those. When we were doing those, I'd have people coming up to me afterwards and asking what's going on here. So given that we're doing everything kind of virtually at the moment and doing lots of videos, which you've all been kind enough to watch, I thought I'd take the opportunity just to kind of talk you through this, basically. Where the idea for this came from is, as you will know, we're a three-piece, and those of you familiar with our studio albums will know that often there's quite a lot of other stuff on there as well. So our amazing producer Greg Haver and our incredible engineer Clint Murphy do wondrous things in the studio, and we have lots of strings and some Hammond organ and keyboards and stuff on a lot of our tracks. And obviously, being a three-piece, it's not always straightforward recreating that live. So I did spend some time kind of trying to do all of that on the bass, but I often found that when Paul kind of would stop playing rhythm guitar because he'd play a solo and stuff like that, I just found that I wasn't, however hard I worked the bass, I wasn't managing to fill the gap that was left all of the time. So I kind of got thinking about other possible solutions. You may be familiar with a band called Royal Blood. The bassist and frontman, that it's a two-piece, so it's just bass and drums, and the bassist is also the lead singer, and he does all kinds of amazing things where he sort of splits his signal and kind of sends signals, like he uses pitch shifters and things like that to send the signal to guitar amps and so on and so forth. So that kind of got me thinking that we could sort of do something similar. So hence the Helix, which is this amazing bit of kit, really. You should be able to see also somewhere on the screen the kind of computer program that I use for programming it. So you can see there, you can also kind of see on the machine itself that we've got, this is the this here is the incoming signal from the bass guitar. So both of these is the incoming signal. You can see two signal paths. This one here is kind of the bass path. So let's talk about that first. You can see it splits here. So this is kind of, this channel here is what I call my clean bass channel. So if I play you a bit of that, pretty straightforward. That's just my kind of basic clean bass sound. That I would normally actually send to an amp, so that goes to my orange Terra bass amp. If I am DIing it, I do actually have an amp sim here, which I believe is some kind of Aguilar. So if I turn that on, then it's, you can hear a slight difference to just the clean DI sound without that on. There. So that channel's pretty straightforward, really. I do have a couple of EQs on that channel which I can use. So this here, if I switch that on, that basically just scoops the sound. So if I want to play some slap, then, you know, it just kind of gives it a little bit more kind of, gives it a bit more bass and treble there. And then I've got this boost if I just want a bit more of the lows. Sometimes that's quite useful. You can just hear that's a bit more beefy, particularly if I'm down on the 5th string. It just kind of gives a bit more oomph to that, really. So that's the clean bass channel, which is kind of the most straightforward, really. So if I move on to the dirty bass, now that's this line here, the kind of second line down. You can see the signal does split and then sort of remerges. but what happens there is when it splits here, it splits to a stereo signal, and then when it comes back, it doesn't merge to a mono signal. So I'm able to keep the two kind of signal paths separate. So let's listen to that. So this is it kind of... So there's a few things going on there. I mean, the main body of the sound there is the sim there is of the dark glass B7000 something like that. I can't remember exactly what, but yeah, it's dark glass tech basically. There's also this thing on there. That is an Octave Pedal. I can't remember what that one's based on. I think it's the EBS bass Octave Pedal that's based on. So yeah, that's... So we've still got the clean signal in there, but it's just... Then we've got the dark glass stuff going on as well. There's a compressor on there as well. Yeah, and what I sometimes do... I mean, quite often sound engineers like me to send this signal directly to the desk, but I do have another amp that I can send this signal through if the sound guy's happy with that. This is probably the time to introduce the expression pedal, because what happens is at the moment that dirty channel isn't actually doing a huge amount. As soon as I start rolling this on, it will increase the distortion, like it will increase the gain on the dark glass pedal, and also it will increase the mix of that low octave. So it does, if I play it on the low B string, it does get a bit kind of, starts getting a bit muddy, but you can hear just... Yeah, so that's kind of the expression pedal. The way that I've got it is set up, I mean, the great thing about the Helix is I can send so many things to the expression pedal. I can change loads of parameters on there all at once. So it kind of like that expression pedal just kind of takes everything and puts it on steroids, basically. So that's the clean and dirty bass. There's a couple of other things here on the dirty bass that I'm going to come back to in a minute, because the next thing to show you is the kind of virtual rhythm guitarist. And this is where, when Paul plays his solo, if it needs a bit of rhythm guitar, I can kind of do a bit of that. So if I turn this on, like this, then, yeah, it's basically a rhythm guitar channel. If I add it with the bass, then that's a bit of that. And then there's a bunch of other things here. So I can't actually remember what the amp sim I've got is. What's this? It's all got different names on the Helix. I think that's a Marshall. Yeah, I believe that's a Marshall head. I can turn the... Oh, we've got some distortion on here as well. I think that is Minotaur, which is actually a Centaur, I believe is the name of the pedal. It's actually the same pedal that Paul uses on his pedal board. I can turn that off. Yeah, and yeah. Then again, so the expression pedal there raises the gain on the amp. If I do have the Centaur on, it does the same thing to the Centaur. It actually brings the overall volume down a little bit because the gain's going up. I don't want the volume to go through the roof, so it brings the gain up but keeps a lid on the overall volume. And And then there's what probably looks a bit confusing, which is these power and octave buttons here. So if I take everything off, then we've just got a single note there. Which again, I can kind of put on steroids. The octave is probably the easiest to explain. That basically puts in an octave above it. So this has already gone up an octave from what I'm actually playing, using the built-in pitch shifting. But I can add in a bit more of the octave above that. It's almost more like enhancing that first harmonic, really, rather than kind of actually adding in a new note. So it's almost like just rolling up the tone. So that's kind of the octave pedal, and then the power, kind of as the name suggests, is more like a power chord. And again, because I can send so much to the expression pedal, if I've got power on, then it's more kind of just the root note. As I bring the expression pedal up, it makes it more of a power chord, like it adds in the fifth and the octave above that. So I could combine it with the octave pedal, but it sounds disgusting. Yeah, yuck. So when I'm playing, if Paul's playing a solo or something, it's typically the power button that I would use. So like back again, for example. In fact, I'm going to do another video because we're about to release a virtual recording of Back Again, which you will see the Helix being used on, because I use it a lot on that. That video is kind of meant to be sort of like our live performances would be. To get you excited, first gig on the 25th of June. So how I would use that is when it's Paul's solo. With bass. And then, of course, when we get back into the chorus, we don't need the rhythm guitar anymore, because that's when Paul he stops playing his solo and he's playing rhythm guitar as well. So I'm basically, what I'm playing there when is during the solo is kind of pretty similar to what Paul would be playing during the verses. It's the same riff. Obviously I'm doing repeated notes, but that's because the bass line, that's kind of what's required for the bass line. So obviously it's not exactly what Paul would be playing, because I'm playing bass at the same time as kind of playing rhythm guitar. But yeah, it seems to work mostly. And then actually in the same song, so this is where I would use the octave. In the same song we've got some there's, when it goes to the breakdown, there's these guitar licks in between the big bits, which I actually harmonise. So when Paul's playing the first one, I'm playing this, and then helps if it turns off when I kick it, but anyway, yeah, you'll see all of that on the Back Again video. It's quite fun. So that's the rhythm channel, and then another cool thing about the expression pedal is I can, if I push it all the way and then push it down hard, then it goes to a wah pedal, which is kind of fun, because I can do this. And it actually, I said I was going to come back to this thing here on the bass, which is now turned on. When I go to expression 2, that is a filter on the bass. So you can just hear an envelope filter on there. It just kind of messes everything up, basically. Without. I mean, to be honest, I hardly ever use the expression 2. That's only kind of when we're like really rocking out. So like for example, South of the City, Paul tends to do a pretty epic solo in that. And that's the kind of, the expression 2 is like really pulling out all the stops. So right at the climax of that solo, that's when I drop that. Just when I've got nowhere else to go, basically. Yeah. So that's the kind of nuts and my vocals go through this as well, actually. So you'll see here, it says vocals. The reason for that is literally one line in that same song, actually, South of the City, that uses a bit of distortion. So I've just got a distortion and another envelope filter that I just use on the vocals if I want some distortion on my backing vocals. I might use that a bit more because it seems a bit daft to have it set up for literally one line of one song. One of our new songs, yet to be released, but we have been performing it live, so if you want to hear it, have to come and hear us live. 25th of June, first gig. I might use it on that because there's again Clint, our amazing engineer, did some cool stuff doing like some he put some distortion on the backing vocals in that, so I might use it a bit in that. Yeah, but that's the kind of basics. Those are my sort of basic sounds that I use in various combinations. Yeah, like I say, to kind of fill out the sound a bit when Paul's doing his thing. Yeah, and then there are some songs, so Back Again, and also She's the Light, that at the start of the song, like it's got like these really epic string soundscapes. And the cool thing about this is I can basically use it as it's got note generators, a basic kind of synthesizer, so you can choose the waveform, and I kind of use that to build up the sound. So that's what I'm going to show you in the next video. Is I'm going to talk you through the different preset that I have for Back Again, because then you'll know what's going on when you watch our performance. That performance is, like I say, it's going to be as live. So what you hear on that performance is what you will hear when you come and hear us on the 25th of June, or whenever you can come to a gig, and we would love to see you once the world starts getting back to normal. So I think I've told you all of the basics. I've whittled on for ages now. I'm going to shut up. But next video is going to be Back Again, explaining what I do at the start of that, and then that should drop at the same time as the actual performance. So yeah, enjoy.